Sydney University welcomes HSC English Advanced students to this online resource focused on the common module Text and Human Experiences. Through this, you will learn how an individual's identity is built primarily around the complex and at times inconsistent nature of the human qualities they possess, along with drawing direct links to their environment and its people. George Orwell's 1949 prescribed prose fiction novel, 1984, uses its protagonist Winston to explore these human qualities of hope and morality in a totalitarian world, which make up aspects of one's identity. Brooke Davis's 2014 novel extract, The Pine Trees, further examines how the quality of remembrance in conjunction with place also formulates identity. Both texts examine their protagonists' individual experiences and subsequently represent the capacity within the collective audience to behave the same way regarding these qualities. Orwell allows Winston to fabricate hope in his world of despair, despite the anti-hero consciously recognising the inevitable futility of his dreams. When recalling his words with O'Brien at the start of the novel and later conversing with him in his office, Winston builds an imagined future in the place where there is no darkness, to create a place to invest his hope. This repeated motif indicates that the darkness represents the restrictive party control of society and proves how Winston allows himself to believe an escape is possible. Through his protagonist's individual desire for the future, Orwell's readers learn how hope is a quality that, as humans, we instinctively seek. Later, Winston says, "In this game we're playing, we can't win," to Julia as they lay together above Charrington's shop. The monosyllabic nature of "we can't win" in this metaphor brings brevity and clarity, subsequently establishing a sense of certainty that differs from Winston's past ambitions. This builds upon the inconsistent nature of human qualities, as it is contradictory for an individual to hold hope and accept an inevitable fate. Orwell is reinforcing this paradoxical state of mind that exists within human nature through Winston's individual experiences in this dystopia, adding to the complexity regarding all identity. Towards the novel's end, during Winston's torture in the Ministry of Love, he retorts, "But the world, but the rocks, but the whole universe," against O'Brien's statements. Anaphora scene here creates an urgent and pleading tone in Winston's innate rebuttal. Despite the injustice and torture wished upon him by the party, Winston's instinctive denial correlates with the hope he evidently continues to hold, regardless of his rational conclusions. Essentially, Orwell allows Winston to feel hope because his oppressive environment demands the opposite, and it is through the inconsistent nature of his desires that the complexities of hope emerge. It can be seen that Davis, however, chooses to focus through her persona on the quality of remembrance and its subsequent inconsistencies, connecting this with childhood settings to explore its impact on identity. Towards the beginning, Davis writes, "They don't know the secrecy, they don't know the silence, they don't know the magic," in regards to the new owners of her past home. This lexical chain involving secrecy, silence, and magic builds a sanctuary guarding the persona's childhood. Anaphora employed here further demonstrates the emotion behind each phrase, indicating how personal and subjective these memories are. Together, these amplify the importance of the persona reminiscing about her unique past and how these memories form her current character. Later in the piece, as the persona reflects on conversations with her mother, she asks, "Why isn't there somebody recording these things?" Her rhetorical question emphasises how she longs to revisit the past, for her family values have remained ingrained since adolescence. Davis does, however, also introduce through this question an inconsistency within her persona, for it was asked without the intention of an answer. This indicates the subconscious desire to suppress the truth and retain memory. Davis is further reinforcing this when she writes, "I want to stop the car, to squeal on the brakes like they do in the movies, but I just keep driving," as the persona passes her old home. The incorporation of this simile highlights how the persona again chooses not to taint her memory of the pine trees, despite the strong influence of reality willing her to. Thus, Davis indicates through her persona that an inconsistency regarding individual reminiscence can be made apparent in order to preserve memory over truth in an attempt to protect identity. We are made aware that 1984 also analyses the complex quality of morality, examining how the oppressive nature of Winston's society can at times force him to rationalise immoral choices. As Winston initially writes in his diary, his small but childish handwriting straggled up and down the page, shedding first its capital letters and finally even its full stops. Vivid imagery indicates the desperate nature of his actions, as his choice to reject the party's values will bring consequences. Through personification, Orwell also depicts the handwriting, shedding as a form of freedom for Winston now that he has surrendered to the will of his conscience. By surrendering, Winston's identity becomes more defined, which Orwell urges his readers to see, for they too can either follow or disregard their will. Later when at work, Winston was not troubled by the fact that every word he murmured into the speakwrite was a deliberate lie. The forgery should be perfect. Connotations of lie and forgery bring a sense of wrongdoing, indicating Winston's awareness surrounding the immorality of his actions. His internal monologue also reveals him actualising a version of doublethink, with the need for self-preservation overruling his morals. Here, The inconsistency that lies within this quality is revealed because individuals allow themselves to appease contradictory parts of their conscience. After crying out for Julia in the Ministry of Love, Orwell narrates that in the mind he had surrendered, but he had hoped to keep the inner heart inviolate about Winston. This limited narration displays Winston's interior monologue, proving how it is still imperative to his identity that he obey his will. Through this, Orwell examines how, despite impending punishment, Winston continues to abide by his conscience, reflecting the capacity within the collective to do the same. Although there are inherent inconsistencies that accompany one's moral qualities, Orwell highlights through Winston's experiences of oppression how the ability to follow moral choices still remains viable. Essentially, this resource has demonstrated that both texts show how various human qualities, in congruence with their existence in a particular environment, can build upon an individual's identity. 1984 examines through Winston and his experiences within a dystopian world the complex concepts of hope and morality, whilst The Pine Trees' persona explores the quality of memory. Both examine these qualities with a direct relation to forming identity. This resource has made clear that the authors use their protagonists' experiences to reveal these human qualities and thus the complex nature surrounding each of them. Sydney University wishes you luck in your study of this module.